All right, welcome back to Ripe Avocados. If you saw the title of the thumbnail, we're doing 28 years later. Danny Boyle and Alex Garland teaming back up for the last of the original trilogy, I guess. Yeah, it's just been like the most spread out trilogy of all time, I'd say. But let's get into it and hear what this thing was about.
Daydream, I fell asleep amid the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day.
Before we start today's episode, I just want to announce our Road to 500 subs free movie ticket sweepstakes. All you got to do is subscribe to our channel, leave a like on the video, and leave a comment below. Simple as that. That's all you got to do to potentially win a free movie ticket. So let's get into today's episode. 28 years later follows a small community in, I believe, Scotland. They live on this little island that's connected by this long strip of sand, and then when the high tide comes in, it all floods over, so they're kind of protected from the infected in that way. But the story revolves around this kid, Spike, and his dad, Aaron Taylor Johnson, aka the man in probably the most box office busts of all time. Aaron Taylor Johnson, his dad, is training his son Spike to be a hunter and gatherer for the community. And he takes him outside their little community and into the wilderness, into the mainland. And they encounter the freakiest looking motherfuckers I've ever seen. I can't remember in 28 weeks later or not if we saw an alpha. I don't think we did. But this, when you see the alpha for the first time in this movie, he just stands taller than all the other infected. He's built like the fucking Hound from Game of Thrones. And he's got a Ron Jeremy-sized dick in comparison to his body. Just swinging around. But basically, Aaron Taylor Johnson takes his son out there to hunt while Spike's mom is at home literally just losing her mind. I don't know, or he doesn't know what the fuck's wrong with her. No one talks about what's wrong with her. And for some dumb fucking reason, Spike decides to take her out into the wilderness by herself to try to find help from a doctor that everyone in the community has basically said has gone crazy. They've seen this man just lining bodies up, burning them, making giant skull sculptures, and Spike is like, yeah, that's the guy I need to help my mom. So he takes his mom out there. They meet Ray Fiennes, who's the doctor, and he's pretty much as crazy as everyone thought, but he's also a philosopher low-key. And they come to the grand conclusion that his mom has cancer. And the mom, this was the best part of the movie to me. Oh, no, sorry, not her having cancer. That's not the best part.
Clip that.
The best part of the movie was right after that, when the mom was like, yeah, like, I kind of had a feeling it was cancer. I just didn't want to tell you. She let her 12-year-old son take her to an island filled with fucking zombies and alpha zombies because she had cancer. And she ends up dying right after that. Ray Fiennes kills her and burns her and lets Spike stack her skull onto the sculpture.
It's a real privilege.
And then at the end of the movie, Spike runs into the Teen Titans, basically. All wearing blonde wigs, doing flips, destroying the shit out of some zombies. But, yeah, quite the odd twist at the end.
Very weird back-to-back movies we've done with complete random beginnings and ends. We did The Materialists last week, and this movie, it just seemed like neither of those had anything to do with the plot. I actually thought the Teletubbies scene in the beginning of this movie was pretty good, except the fact that they spoiled it in all the trailers for this movie, so I knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But that's my fault.
And I mean, that's Jimmy at the end. So I guess the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie connects, but still.
But
Why are
is
they
Jimmy,
doing backflips killing zombies?
is Jimmy in any of the prequels?
I don't think so. I don't
Yeah,
remember him.
that just seemed completely unnecessary to me. But we'll get into that in the writing. So for scores, I went 7-0 here for entertainment.
Entertainment, I went 6.5.
I went a lot of sevens in the recent episodes, but I went 7.4 in characters.
I went 6.5 for characters.
I went 7.1 for cinematography,
I went 7.0 for cinematography.
and then I went 6.2 for writing, and you went like 1.5.
No, 1.7. No, I went 5.0 for writing.
Okay, so conceptually, like, I didn't think this movie was bad. I thought it was pretty entertaining. I really liked the addition of the alpha. I actually haven't seen 28 Weeks Later, so I've just seen 1 and now 3. But I understood everything, at least for the most part. Maybe Jimmy was in 28 Weeks Later. That's sort of why I was asking that. But I guess he wasn't.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the movie kind of had a good stretch right there from definitely the beginning when Spike first goes to the island with his dad, and then they kind of just canceled Aaron Taylor Johnson's character in 10 minutes or so, and he's not really in the movie from that much more afterwards, and it just sort of becomes Spike being the main character.
Yeah.
And I didn't
He cheats on his wife, his bedridden wife, and they're like, "No, we got to write him out. He can't get any more screen time."
It was really odd. I don't know if you thought that was weird too, how they just sort of wrote him out of the script like that. It really kind of bothered me because I thought he was a great addition in the first part of the movie. Like, even when he's teaching Spike, he's really not using, I would call them, traditional methods of parenting. He's sort of just throwing him into the lion's den and like watching him kill these zombies in the flesh. It sort of reminded me of Joel a little bit, but nothing's ever really the same. It kind of just did make me mad.
Joel,
too,
but like a little bit more sadistic when the kid kills something. Like when Spike first shoots the fat baby zombie crawling around in the neck, Aaron Taylor Johnson nearly cummed. Like, he was so excited for him. I was just like, Jesus Christ, dude.
He's like, that's just when I bought your mom Plan B for the first time. Yeah, no, it was fine. Like, I actually liked his dynamic. Like, you could sort of tell he wasn't probably the best father figure from the get-go, but I didn't. They have that party where he cheats on his wife, and then he's just nowhere to really be found again, and they kind of run him off the script. I don't know, it was weird. I don't think I've ever really seen that before. The one thing I wanted to note that was really cool, in my opinion, was the walkway they had from the island to the zombie island, I guess.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Spirited Away, that scene where, oh my God, what's her name?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes,
Yeah.
I know exactly the scene you're talking
She
about.
takes the train. That had to be inspired somewhat by that. I swear to. Well,
I mean, I'm sure that happens like wherever they filmed. Like, I'm sure that, because I've seen shit like that happen. It happens in Game of Thrones too, don't they? It's the Bolton place, or the place that the Boltons take over.
Yeah. Like where they just
Like muddy
walk.
wetlands. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just deeper here, and the fact that they incorporated the tides was cool. I think it was the same type deal in Spirited Away, but it looked really cool visually. When they did that whole chase scene was super neat. Also,
that kind of had my heart pumping a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely did. But it also, I just realized this: the alpha gets, speared through the fucking chest like 3 times, and isn't he still alive after that?
So I can't remember if that's the same alpha or if there's multiple alphas, but he definitely did get flaming speared through the chest. That is a fact.
Okay.
Now, if it's the same guy that comes back and starts ripping people's heads off their body, I don't know. But those alphas were fucking scary as shit, man.
They also incorporated a bit of a ecosystem to these rage zombies or whatever they call them. In the first movie, they're pretty sporadic. It seems like they just come out of nowhere, and there's not really there's not really an organization to them. And in this one, they explain a few intricacies of it, but they still don't really tell you exactly what's going on with the whole horde. Also, they kind of wrote away. From what I read online, they just completely disregarded all the events of 28 weeks later in this movie.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, I guess they just don't mention the whole Paris takeover that happened.
Yeah, that makes sense because it is like quarantined in the UK.
Yeah, but anyways, we could probably move on to characters. I actually do want to give a shout out to Alfie Williams, the guy who plays Spike.
Spike.
I thought he was really good, honestly, and. We're shitting on ATJ. Well, you are, but I like ATJ. I think he's I think he's such an underrated actor, and goes into why I was a little pissed that they took him out of this role. I mean, he was clearly not playing like a great character morally in this movie, but he stands out to me. Whenever he's in a movie, even Kraven the fucking Bounty Hunter, I thought that movie was entertaining because of him, honestly.
That show was buns. But no, I do agree. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he's a fantastic actor, and I think it shows in a movie like Bullet Train, where he can play an amazing role in a movie. I think he's just gotten into these weird projects, or not weird projects, kind of blockbuster films, but his roles are always kind of smaller than you would think, and for some reason he hasn't reached that peak lead actor status. I don't know why. I think he could be a fantastic action movie star.
Yeah, James Bond. I don't know.
But the thing is, like, his voice is kind of high pitched, and I don't know if that works with James Bond.
I don't think his voice is the issue. It's probably just his agent booking him terrible gig after terrible gig. Because I agree. I think he's definitely not a bad-looking guy, and I think he's got wits to him, too, and he could play these action roles, and he could play... I mean, 28 Years Later is not just a point-blank action movie. There's other levels to it, and we've seen him play roles like this before. Like Bullet Train, it's an action movie, but there's, a heavy plot in there as well. But I really like him. I also liked the woman who played the mother. I wrote down her name because it's Jodie Comer. I've seen her in, like, one other thing before. But she was good. I mean, she just plays like a delusional
white woman.
Yeah, some wasp. And dude, Ralph Fiennes is one of the best actors of all time. I mean, he was cracking me up with his mannerisms and shit. Yeah. I couldn't even really tell what he was saying half the time. He was just kind of like mumbling creepy shit and like hunched over and like smiling, and I was laughing. And then he just had iodine all over him for, again, they don't really explain that, but I guess that sheds away the rage monsters, and he was a great character that they added in almost too late.
Also a sick little blow dart to tranquilize the alpha. The alpha's just standing there comatose, and he's just like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, he never really explained why he set up all these skulls everywhere. I think they mentioned at one point that it kept the zombies away, but doesn't.
He did say there was a reason for it, and that was that part of the movie. Once Aaron Taylor Johnson drops off and they kind of go to visit Ray Fiennes, while I think Ray Fiennes' character was sick, and I think Ray Fiennes is, as you said, one of the greatest actors, I just felt like it was a weird tonal shift. And again, that's why I said like he was like a philosopher in a way, because he started going on these wild tales telling Spike shit, and I know if I'm sitting there in the theater like, what the fuck is he really trying to say? I know Spike's ass is like, where's my mom?
He's like, your mom has cancer. He's like, what? I don't know what the fuck that even is.
Spike now probably thinks cancer turns people into just skulls. Yeah. That's probably what he thinks, because he has no other explanation about it.
Yeah, he hates going to the doctor more than like your average 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever explained to him. Also, every adult in his little community is like the worst person of all time. They're all just like alcoholics and, violent scumbags. I guess that makes sense in a post-apocalyptic world, but it was hilariously ironic how Ray Fiennes was like the most logical thinker of all of them, even though he was completely insane.
Out of his mind. Just
But
lining up bodies.
Yeah, but he actually has remorse for the mom. Obviously, he's not like actually ill-intended at all.
He's just collecting the bodies.
Yeah, yeah, and he just knows way too much about the rage monsters than anybody should. Yeah, I don't know. There were some other funny scenes with the characters, like when the Jodie Comer is just holding the birthing zombie up in that cargo train or whatever the hell that was. There was also that side character,
Eric.
Yeah, he's on camera for like 5 minutes, dies horrifically, and
I knew right when he started backing up. I was like, don't fucking back up in a horror movie. Like, what are people doing?
He did provide some good comedy for a little bit. I mean, dude, the overall tone of this movie I wrote down was just kind of like a dark comedy. This is not Scream, World War Z, or even The Last of Us season 1. Throw that in there. It's just not that scary to me. I thought the alpha had some gruesome parts, although I don't know. It really, they threw a ton of comedic, relief in here throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. No, like I said, I thought this movie was fantastic up until, like, Spike's mom dies. Like, they're with Ray Fiennes in that little skull garden, and he's talking to them about all these different things and why he built the sculpture so people can remember it. Some shit like that. And then right after that, I'm like, what's going on with this movie? Like, where did this all go? Because I was so locked in at the beginning. Again, with Aaron Taylor Johnson, like, taking his son out, and I thought it was dope that, like, Aaron Taylor Johnson clearly is the alpha of that community. He's fucking sniping down zombies with his bow and arrow. And even though Spike, like, I'm glad they showed Spike trying to shoot arrows, but still missing. Like, it grounded itself in that way. But yeah, I don't know. It just dropped off. That last 30% of the movie, I kind of checked out.
Yeah, it was weird. All right, let's do cinematography, and then we'll touch on the writing of it. So, the alpha scene was really cool, like I mentioned before. Just the visual aspect. They shot it over like an
the
aerial
night
view.
sky, and yeah.
Also,
he was sprinting down like DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Tiny Tom Cruise, but that's another great comp.
You could probably fit 2 Tom Cruises in that alpha.
Yeah, two Tom Cruises wide as well. No, I was a little disappointed they didn't.
And an extra Tom Cruise for his dick, just swinging around.
That's true. Although, yeah, no, I won't comment on that. I kind of thought they should have used that again, though, and that probably ties into the writing. But how are they not gonna? They're gonna introduce this, this level of thoughtful thinking from these zombies, and then you have the alpha running down this path. Clearly, he's figured out their route. Why wouldn't they just have that again? Have more of them just running down the path, like at the humans at the very end of the movie, or something along those lines. I really think they wasted a bit of some good plot that they had in that aspect. I don't know.
No, I agree with that, and I feel like I said it earlier. I feel like they thought out 75% of the movie, and then the ending they kind of just tossed into the air.
Yeah, it was like super conceptual, and nothing really came to complete thought at the end.
Yeah.
The red light stuff I thought was really cool, though. It didn't really make a ton of sense because no one in the whole movie was wearing red light goggles or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was creepy when they showed just a picture of a little cameo of the alpha or just random zombies and like what they were doing.
Yeah,
it freaked me out.
There were a shit ton of cuts, and again, like that happens in this whole trilogy, this movie series. Like the cuts are very, like you can tell it's from this 28 years movie, from this movie trilogy, and I think it helped in a lot of ways. I think it also got kind of choppy at some parts, but I thought it was great, especially in the chaotic scenes, like in the house when Aaron Taylor Johnson and Spike are trying to find a place, like a little safe haven, as the horde is chasing them, and it's just cutting from upstairs, downstairs, the zombies flying in, Aaron Taylor Johnson trying to push Spike up into the roof, everything going hectic. I thought it was great in that sense. And also when they showed the cuts where the mom is like overlooking the land, and she's trying to remember things, and you can just tell her mind is escaping her, and it's all these dramatic cuts right next to her face, kind of letting the viewers interpret the fact that like she is losing her mind and everything's kind of lost and jumbled in there. So I thought that was cool, but again, like, it was just a 7-0 for me, cinematography. Like, nothing really stood out to me that was insane.
Yeah, the negative side of those cuts too are when, for example, they're shooting arrows at these zombies and we see maybe
17 different
times where it just slow-mo goes into its head, like point blank shot, and gushing blood. We got that shot way too many times than we probably needed to. But it was a little less jerky, and it didn't seem as like poorly edited as I think. 28 weeks later, I started to watch that movie. Honestly, I said I haven't seen it, but I've seen like the beginning of it, and it's almost sped up so much to where it kind of bothers me. Where I don't really think it looks entertaining. Like, the characters are moving in like 1.25x speed, and like it's just a little too much for me. And this is so new because that came out in 2007, so almost 20-year difference. You know,
the opening scene though in 28 weeks is crazy. He's sprinting down to the boat to get away, and like he left his whole family there.
Yeah, it's wild. That was like the only part of the movie I watched, but it's just the speed of it.
You didn't wait for Hawkeye to come in?
No, I'll probably give it another try, honestly.
Yeah,
because I really like the first. I think the first is the best, and then this one was pretty close to it, honestly. But the first one's just a classic, considering the budget they used, and that's why it's shot this way too. I would imagine it's a lot cheaper to, vastly cut things versus just a longer shot when you have the nicest cameras and nicest VFX and CGI and all that shit.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the writing. Like I said, I thought this was super conceptual. It's almost like they had this crazy idea of what they wanted to do. I honestly wrote down they probably just took a bunch of peyote and watched Attack on Titan forever because the Titans reminded me of the Alpha. Like, they looked just like Eren Yeager, and I was like, what the fuck is happening here, And I thought for a second, like, the mom was going to have some sort of alias, avatar-type control over one of these things, and that wasn't the case at all. They were like, all right, let's just fucking kill her with cancer. Like, you know what I mean?
I thought she was turning or something was happening with her that whole time.
It could have been way cooler had they gone down that route, and I don't think it was that far out of the realm of possibility to do something like that. But
nah, not at all. Dude, Ray Fiennes' character was, I don't know, smoking ayahuasca or something out there and building giant pillars of skulls. Like,
right.
Could have made the mom fucking... They had the Power Rangers at the end of the movie, bro. They could have made the mom, like, in charge of the alphas or some shit.
Yeah, I just did not understand those two concepts. Like I said, the beginning and the end made no sense to me. I had no reason at all why you have to include that. I get it. If you have a sequel, you have a sequel, but you don't need to do that. Just have whatever his name is, Jimmy, be somewhere in the fast vicinity of one of these events happening. Maybe he's like somewhat near Ray Fiennes' camp or something in the first movie. You don't have to have... or you could just save that scene for the next movie. I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They were teasing it throughout the whole movie. They go into that one house, and that one zombie is hanging from the roof with Jimmy carved into his chest. So the whole movie, you're like, who the fuck is Jimmy? And then it turns out to be like 12 people in matching jumpsuits, long blonde hair, doing Power Rangers shit at the end.
Yeah, I think that's where it just confirmed it was a dark comedy for me, and it's just one of those, like, really, it's almost too hipstery for me. They're trying to do almost too much in that scene where I'm like, I'm I'm pretty with it when it comes to movies. Like if they're trying to do something different, I'm all for that. But there's a limit to everything, and I just do not think the original writers who came up with this and like watched that over were like way too lenient on criticizing this because it just looked really stupid. I don't know many people that are going to defend that.
No. Well, I've seen some shit online about it's supposed to be about Jimmy Savile or I think that's how you pronounce his name, and he was a big UK media personality. He had the long blonde hair, I think wore those types of jumpsuits on TV or out and about. But he basically like sexually assaulted kids, I think.
Wait, this is a real person?
This is a real person.
Oh. Okay.
So I know people online were talking about how they tried to tie that into the movie because it makes sense with it makes sense with the time period, I think, or when they might have grown up and been watching shit. So I don't know. We're not British, so we have you ever heard of Jimmy Savile?
No. So it's ass.
I've never heard of Jimmy Savile. And that might be
either.
Us being ignorant, but get him off my fucking screen. I don't want to see 10 Jimmy Saviles karate chopping zombies.
I don't need Joe Rogan at the end of The Last of Us just doing cartwheels.
Wait a second now. Imagine Joe Rogan.
He might have saved season
Imagine
2.
Joe Rogan arm barring a clicker.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I just think that it had a ton of potential. Honestly, this movie had probably as much potential as the rest of them because they don't directly correlate with the first and second, meaning like they don't have to follow this rigid script to where, like you're filming like a Star Wars prequel. You have to have Anakin become Darth Vader in the third movie or whatever. Like random bullshit like that. They have free reign to kind of do what they want to do. It's the same two guys who wrote the original and the second one. So it just seems like they got a little too zooted and lost their train of thought along the way with this whole alpha concept because it looked sick. I was like, wow, we got a fucking alpha. And
that shot on the horizon where like one zombie's standing there and then another one pops up and then that alpha walks up and he's just so much taller than everyone else. That shit was intimidating.
It was, and they just never really built off that. They didn't explain what the alpha comes from. They didn't explain why it does that. They insinuate that Ralph Fiennes knows what the alpha is, but he also knows how to tranquilize it and these other things, but we don't get one monologue of him just explaining to us what it is. And I get it, they're going to do more movies, but just give us some more information. I don't think it would have ruined the plot at all. I think it just would have made the movie better, but that's just why I'm sitting on my couch watching this shit and not directing movies. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely want to know or learn more about the alphas, and that's not just because of his giant cock swinging between his legs. Because like, so he's impregnating infected rage virus people, women, and they're giving birth, I would assume, to more alphas.
No,
right?
they're normal. We saw one of them get born. Unless
kid's that's right.
To a demon baby. I was hoping for that.
That's
right. Imagine that they gave birth and then like the mom attacks them and then they're like, okay, it's just a baby, and then
that is true. The mom was like, the infected mother gave birth, and while she was giving birth, she was almost like had her sense of humanity, and then right after that, she tries to take a chomp, but. Yeah, I don't know. We need to follow up with that baby. That's what we need to do.
We do.
Because they need to be monitoring that baby 24/7.
Yeah, I honestly think they should have shot it with the 30 cal, like our boy wanted to do.
Yeah, they should have put it on the end of that spear gun that they shot at the alpha in that first. They should have put the baby on the end of that and just launched it into the water.
It just like grabs it and like.
Fucking literally DK back flagging it down.
Yeah, we would have got all the answers. But maybe we'll get more answers in the next one. I think we've pretty much touched on all the subjects here. I mean, this was a pretty good movie. We gave it a 6.6 out of 10. Nothing crazy, nothing horrible.
Yeah.
Go watch it if you like zombie movies or infected movies, as they call them now. And go check out Ripe Avocados on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll be back next Tuesday with another one. Peace out.
Deuces.